Ellis County Commission meeting will come to order. Can we all please stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, Bobby, can you call roll, please?
Commissioner Nathan Liker.
Here.
Chair Neil Younger.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Order of business, there will be one executive session, and then we will move
Conservation District.
Ellis County Conservation District in the place of Grow Hayes, and then everything will proceed as it is in the agenda, so. Okay, prior minutes?
I approve the prior minutes.
Yeah. Approve.
Okay. Okay, any issues from people outside of the regular agenda?
There's no consent agenda today.
No I'm sorry, no consent to agenda. That's my bad, so. Okay. Then the monthly financial report.
Looks fine to me. I didn't have any questions.
Okay.
Didn't either.
Okay. Okay, moving forward, we will have Ellis County Conservation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Travis Groff, currently serving as the chairman of the Board of Supervisors for the Ellis County Conservation District. Let me introduce the people that are here with me. Linda O'Neill's our district manager. Mary Pfeiffer is our treasurer. Alan Roth is, I got to turn this way, our long-term member. He's been on the board for over 20 years. And then Stephen Walters is the district conservationist for the NRCS, which we partner with, so he's gonna add a few things as well. We are here today because the conservation districts rely on county, state, and allocations for their operations. Across the state, there are 105 conservation districts, one in every county. And what we do is provide local leadership by helping local producers address natural resource needs. There's different needs in different parts of the state. Western Kansas and Ellis County have different needs than some of them in Ellis County, or in Johnson County, or the eastern part of the state. The Conservation District is a primary local unit of government responsible for the conservation of soil, water, and other natural resources within our county. Conservation districts are a political subdivision of the state government charged with this vital role. Our role is to administer the cost share funds from Ellis County, the state of Kansas, and also our own conservation district funds. These funds assist producers to install conservation practices, and our goal is to get these practices on the ground. The Conservation District budget request this year includes Ellis County cost share program of $10,750, which will help fund some of these practices. The Ellis County cost share program has been a long-standing program funded by the Ellis County Commissioners, and we thank you. As of today, we have 14 applications for county, district, and state cost share funds. These applications are for approximately $79,000. The applications are in the process of being approved, and ranked. This year, the applications we have received are primarily for new and rebuilt terraces and range planting. There's a lot of need for this funding for Ellis County. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen, and then I'll come back at the end.
I'm Stephen Walters. I'm just going to touch briefly on the federal role in the Conservation District. NRCS is somewhat of an unknown federal agency. You'd be surprised at how many people I go out to and they're like, who's the NRCS? Our role is, like Travis said, is to get conservation on the ground. We partner with the Ellis County Conservation District to kind of be a local, more locally driven entity that meets the needs of our local producers. And I'm just going to give you a brief, like the money that comes from the federal side, so you understand that the money is just not coming from Ellis County Conservation District. Currently, we're in the fiscal year 2023 funding cycle. And through our Environmental Quality Incentives Program, which we call EQIP, and the Conservation Stewardship Program, which we call CSP, the NRCS has currently funded 25 contracts totaling almost $1.1 million to the producers of Ellis County. These programs are a wide variety of conservation practices focusing on water quality, which is your terraces, waterways, range plantings, grazing lands health, pumping plants, pipelines, fence, prescribed grazing, and then soil health, which has become a bigger focus in the agricultural community. Despite this $1.1 million invested from the federal level, the demand for these funds far outweighs what is available. So the funds that you guys provide in the Ellis County Conservation District are vital to continue to get the conservation on the ground. Another one of our roles is we provide technical service to the FSA, Farm Service Agency. So in the past 2 years with the 4-county fire and the current drought, we've helped with the assistance of putting in over 600 miles of fence between the 3 counties. And with the current drought designation, we'll put in an additional probably 80 to 100 wells and watering facilities through federal programs and federal funds to address some of the lack of water on our lands. As far as the Ellis County Conservation District goes, you know, it's a vital program. You guys and them, they provide that local input that formerly the SCS and the NRCS is known for, is really a locally driven program that the farmers and producers of Ellis County have a say in. The district provides an important local connection between the NRCS, federal officials, and that bureaucracy so that the farmers and ranchers of Ellis County have a voice in how these programs look in now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I introduced Linda, who's our manager. We also have another employee that we hired this year, an intern, a young man out in Natoma. He's a K-State student, and he's working with Stephen as learning how to be a technician, soil technician. We are considering hiring somebody full-time for that role to support what we do here in Ellis County. And we are requesting the same amount of funds that we did last year, which is $72,646 total to continue with our operations. Thank you for this opportunity, and I guess, are there any questions?
This is, you're leveraging our funds to go after more federal funds to help bring in more money, more or less. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, we're leveraging that, and we're filling in the gaps with the county funds, the state, which we get approximately $25,000 from the state each year. It's right in that area, and then our own conservation district funds.
Gotcha. And if I memory serves me right, the Conservation District has asked for a similar ask for probably the past 10 years or better?
Yes.
It hasn't really changed much.
No.
So, okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Michael, you have anything?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay.
I would like to thank you too for what you guys are doing. That does help the whole community out, and
Well, thank you for your time and consideration.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Doug Grohays.
Good morning, Commissioners. Doug Williams, Executive Director of Grow Hayes. Always a pleasure to stand before you all. First of all, I want to thank you for your past support. In 2023, this year, you made a significant increase in your funding to Grow Hayes, and that allowed us to hire David Klingen as Director of Business Recruitment and Retainment, and James Robin as Director of Business Creation and Special Projects. And the impact has been significant. I would also like to introduce, while I'm thinking about it, we have at least 2 board of directors here, Karen Dreiling and Joseph Beckner, who is our chair for this year. I don't think there's anybody else here, but they are also in attendance, and we've got a great board, and they're very supportive. Grow Hayes is the economic development organization for Ellis County. You know, we wear a lot of hats, and we do a lot of projects, and funding from the 2 primary funding sources we have are the City of Hayes and Ellis County. That allows us to do projects like our housing project east of NCK Tech in partnership with Heart of America. That project, by the end of this year, will have either 54 houses complete or at some stage of construction. There's about 36 of them complete now. In addition, we're doing the housing project north of Hayes Medical Center, the Grove, which will contain a community center, child care facility, and the senior center will also be located in that facility. And then our microfactory project is another one that I'd mention at the corner of 9th and Commerce Parkway, about a $4.5 million project that through David's efforts, we were able to get about $4 million in grants, along with some interest-free loans that James was able to round up for us. So your investments in Grow Hayes have paid some very good dividends in 2023. And I did include our annual report and some of the information I sent. I also included our 2023-2024 operations plan and our budget. And they kind of contain the projects we work on, whether it's entrepreneurship, e-community loans. We've got 24 active loans with small businesses totaling about $700,000. We've always got 3 or 4 of those in the hopper. Since James has come on, this is kind of his area of responsibility. He has done a great job of fostering some more interest in these loan processes, and we've got some additional businesses that are opening and able to do so because of some of the funding we're able to provide through our partner network, Kansas. So I don't want to take up a lot of time. We sent you a lot of information. I'm sure you didn't have a chance to go through all of it, but the main thing I wanted to do was answer any questions that you might have. For 2024, we're asking for $180,000 in funding. We asked for that same amount last year. You provided $165,000 last year. In the past, it's varied over the years, but that's our request for 2024. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Anything special that the additional revenue from us would create?
You know, primarily it sustains what we've started already with the new hires and the new projects that we're working on. We're just getting started on the Grove project. We're really excited about that. It's a big project. All told, it's about a $40 million project. And but it's amazing how much is involved with trying to get those things going, with the planning and the platting, annexation, zoning, homeowners associations, and all of that kind of thing. So continuation of what we've started, and then we have some additional plans for some additional housing projects and that type of thing as well. So I think you'll see some of that in 2024.
And what are some of your other local sources of funding?
I'm glad you asked that, because I should have mentioned that. Our budget is about 65 to 70% public funds, about 30% private sector. Our private sector funds have gone from about 3 or 4 years ago, it was about $50,000 a year. Last year it was a little over $160,000. So not only have this Ellis County and the City of Hayes stepped up, but the private sector has stepped up as well. And we get about 30% of our funding, 35% from the private sector.
Thank you.
Michael, anything?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Doug.
I do have one, Doug, on the Phase 2. Are those 18 lots, are they all spoken for already?
They are.
Okay, very good.
They are.
Very good.
All spoken for, and there's actually, if you drive out there, there's 5 homes under construction as we speak. They put in, there'll be 3, I think 2 basements and 3 slabs are under construction as we speak. So they are, and then the additional 12 lots along Wheatland Drive to the north of Wheatland Drive. Most people use it as the entrance into NCK. Those 12 lots have been spoken for as well, and we've got to resurface the street. Heart of America has to resurface the street, which will happen, we hope, this fall. The engineering's being done on it right now, and then those 12 lots will be developed into new homes as well.
Progress in play.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your support.
Good.
We do have to duck out because we've got to get to Jetmore, so I don't want you to think we're not not staying to listen, but we've got an appointment down there.
Thank you.
House cleaning and introduce the outsider agency requesting
Oh, I will. Yeah, we want to tell you that there will be no decisions made today as far as on the funding. That will come at a later date, as a lot of you all know that, so, but we just want to bring that to your attention, so. Okay, High Plains Mental Health, Walt?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Walt Hill. I'm the Executive Director at High Plains Mental Health. Last week I came and provided our annual report to you. Ellis County and the other 19 counties in northwest Kansas comprise High Plains Mental Health Center through an interlocal agreement. We provide the required mental health department for each of the 20 counties. Some counties have their own mental health departments, Sedgwick and Johnson County, but the 20 counties came together through the interlocal agreement. That interlocal agreement includes a provision for county funding from each of the 20 counties. It does not specify the amount of funding by the counties. That's really up to each of the counties. We provide a guideline for that based on a benchmark that comes from 6 factors: population valuation, utilization of services, whether you have a local office, and that's all calculated based on those factors. Each year we take the prior year's county funding total and apply those 6 factors. Those vary from year to year based on changes, and particularly you will see our request for next year is $296,083. That's up, and I want to explain that that is because of 2 factors. The valuation in Ellis County went up relative to the other counties in the 20-county area, so that percentage went up. And our payroll in Ellis County went up $900,000, which is pretty significant in comparison to the other counties. A large portion of our payroll are folks that live in Ellis County because of our main office that's here. We use the county funding, which is about 7 to 8% of our total budget, to help provide services regardless of ability to pay for patients, consumers, individuals, families who can't otherwise afford to pay out of pocket and who don't have Medicaid or private insurance. Half of the people that we see have family incomes under $25,000. So the county funding is very helpful to provide the support and funding to provide a sliding fee service to individuals. I've put some of the unique services that we provide in Ellis County in the materials we sent. We've added quite a bit lately. We provide about $50,000 in service to jail inmates and we don't bill you all for that. We have added assertive community treatment, where we send teams out daily to work with folks who have high needs. We just are ending 2 years of $7 million in federal funding that has allowed us to grow. We've just received a 3-year state grant for $700,000 a year to develop mobile crisis teams, particularly in the Ellis County area where the majority of the population lies, to go out and help deal with folks 24/7, 365 when they're having crisis situations. It's a really new development in the field to provide supports to people who are, where we're seeing folks having increasing crises, mental health crises. So I'll stop at that point. I'm glad to answer any questions you have. Appreciate very much your support, your provision of our board member, Mr. Burgess, to our governing board, and Mr. Ring, who serves as alternate.
You had mentioned you just came off of a $2 million federal grant.
7, yeah.
Okay, $7 million. Will the increase that you're asking or providing us, will that help sustain the growth that you've just incurred?
Yes. The sustainability of that buildup of services in those 2 federal grants, $7 million, is really based on particularly Medicaid revenue under a new Medicaid funding strategy, which pays us based on our costs for those services. So that's the major component of sustainability to keep that level of service up. We'll obviously use the added Ellis County funding primarily for individuals who do not have Medicaid or health insurance. We're seeing some increase in individuals on Medicaid who are losing Medicaid because of the expiration of the public health emergency. They kept people on the Medicaid rolls for up to 2 years without re-verifying income, any of that information, and now they're back requiring that verification and validation. And we are starting to see people go off the Medicaid rolls, so there'll be more of a need for individuals that are uninsured.
Okay. Thank you.
Michael, you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you all for coming.
I don't either. Thanks for what you
Thank you.
do.
Please let us know if you need anything. We're glad to answer any questions. Best of luck in your budgeting process. We're glad to send a crisis team in the midst of that if you need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Okay, the Ellis Alliance Association.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Travis Colris, resident of Ellis, and a volunteer as the president for the Ellis Alliance, as well as the Ellis Development Corp. I have been involved with the Ellis Alliance for the last 15 years, really since its inception. And for those of you that don't know, the Alliance is it's a physical office on Main Street in Ellis, and it's also the administrative arm for the chamber, the Ellis Development Group, as well as the foundation, and a point of presence for the travel and tourism. So it provides a very efficient function to allow these other organizations to be successful. Our budget request this year is relatively small at $1,750, which is what we've requested in years past, which is a little less than 10% of our budget. A little more than 50% of our budget is done by our member organizations, and then a little less than 50% is via the county and the city of Ellis, so from a funding perspective. A couple of projects that we're proud of that was in junction with our member organizations in the Alliance is the A&W in Ellis. A few years back, that was an old dilapidated eyesore of a hotel that we took on and went through the process of demolishing it, rebuilding the foundation so that it's a nice place to put a for sale sign that looked good off of Interstate. And within a year and a half, we sold that and now have the A&W up there, which goes upwards of 30 jobs for the community of Ellis. We've got 4 acres just west of there that we recently sold for an entrepreneur who wants to do some additional development on. Nothing's yet targeted for that, but that's happened. And then just recently, we closed out through the Community Foundation, kind of helped spearhead another external foundation, did matching dollars up to $70,000. And happy to report that last month we got $70,000 of local donations, which were matched by this other foundation, which brought in an additional, $70,000. And all that stuff happens in part through the alliance and the coordination between the groups of Ellis. And so it goes along with our motto to say success through cooperation. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, but appreciate your support.
nothing?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
No, thank you, Travis.
Okay,
I
thanks,
just
guys.
thank
You bet.
Trav for your guys' hard work and
Absolutely.
making that community grow.
We have fun.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, the Western Kansas Child Center.
How are we, folks? My name is Don. I think we've met a few times since I've kind of came on with the agency. So again, we are the Western Kansas Child Advocacy Center. We work to heal the trauma of child abuse to children and their families through advocacy, therapy, and services to the community. If you're somewhat familiar, as you well know, we essentially get involved with the community when a child abuse is reported to law enforcement or DCF. We first become involved to interview to assess the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of the child is our first and foremost priority. Any fact-finding that comes from that is turned over to law enforcement or DCF or any other organization that is tasked with the safety of said child. This year, the year 2022, it looks like we've been out here for service for 83 set interviews. So these interviews are done with someone that's out of our agency, out of our office here, with one of our interviewers. The goal is one interview, unless there's more needed, to not to re-traumatize the child first and foremost, and not to have the child, unfortunately, second guess himself on coming forward with what's been going on in the home. After that is done as well, too, we do stay with the family to provide advocacy. If there's any other needs that are needed there, we can kind of fill the gaps. If there's a financial hardship in the forecast, unfortunately, if somebody not being in the home, we're able to kind of hopefully look out for resources, things like that. We've also, regardless of whatever verdict comes from our fact-finding and assisting also the county attorney with aiding through that process as well too, if the child is needed to testify. We do also offer advocacy afterward, or I'm sorry, therapy afterward for that child to hopefully lay that groundwork for just healthy ways of coping with the trauma. What else looks like we've seen 31 children in the last year for therapy. Out here in this area as well too. We also do have youth advocates out here in this area as well too. Looks like about 68 children in that have gone through that program as well too. 14 to court, a total of 290 children that we've served through our agency this last year. 1,041 services provided as well too. I've been with the agency since mid-February. I think I came on day one here to meet you folks, and it's been to see a child come up and testify, to be that brave, to understand that this is why. It's good to see that this is why we're here, essentially, to give that child hope, essentially, after, even when verdicts don't come back as we would like them to. At the end of the day, our priority is that child. What can we do for that child? So it's been a pretty eye-opening, I guess you could say, with our agency. And know that your support is very important to us. We are expecting, we have a VOCA grant is one of the grants that kind of covers help. It's about 60% of our staffing. We're expecting about a 40% cut. That's worst case scenario, but we are doing our best we can to plan for that. We also have hosted several fundraisers as well too, just to kind of make sure that we don't have to have any loss of services in any counties. especially to make sure we're here for these children whenever they need from us. We did see one particular grant cut, unfortunately, where that grant helped us to have two therapists and one youth mentor. And because of folks like your county and other counties, we're able to kind of offset that, so we're able to absorb whatever we could with our general funds, if you want to call it that, so we wouldn't have to make those cuts till other grants could be seeked out. So for that, and we did have the request for $7,500. So if would like to make that request, we do appreciate you folks highly. Do you have any questions for me? We do also have and any of the services I did mention, sorry to cut you off, any of the services I did mention are for each of the families as well too. We would do the best we can to make sure nothing is kind of put back on these families or these children. So.
You said you've only been there since February, I think?
Yes, sir, mid-February.
Mid-February. With your experience, you think what you've seen is going to get worse, or are we going to kind of plateau where we're at on what you're seeing?
It's in terms of children served.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what I wouldn't be surprised, say the next quarterly update, I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers are a little lower only because they're not in front of mandated reporters, these children, unfortunately. It's really kind of hard to tell. There's a lot of report that abuse that's not being reported. So say the next quarter, I would more than likely see the numbers. Our update would be a little less, only, like I said, they're not in front of teachers, they're not in front of counselors, they're not in front of folks that are going to, hey, come talk to us and let us know what's going on at home. That's the first step of us getting into that, getting into the home and kind of seeing what's been going on. I unfortunately don't see it going down.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no questions. Thanks for coming.
As fast as you talked, and nothing wrong with that.
Sorry.
What kind of staff do you have, and are you having trouble finding staff?
For the most part, no. Right now, I believe the only thing, if I remember correctly, we're seeking out is a child therapist, a certified child therapist. I know that position has just been vacated. I don't, actually not of yet. I believe that we still have some time for that, but I'm going to say no. We've been very fortunate that we've had folks that have come back to us, after they went to other organizations. Excuse me, but I have only been since February, so that's kind of what I've seen.
Okay.
That's the only position off the top of my head that, if I remember correctly, is available. We are seeking board members. I know it'd be a jog to report into Scott City or to follow up in Zoom. We are seeking board members, and I believe we're seeking a treasurer as well. So.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, it takes a special person, so I'm glad that you guys.
It's a shame we have to exist, but we're here.
That's good. Get people back to work and.
Sir.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, DSNWK, the access transportation.
Chairman, with DSNWK as my employer, I'll recuse myself from the next 3 items.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Wade Cruz. I'm the Transportation Manager for DSNWK and Access Public Transportation. This year, we're asking for the same amount of funds we've been asking for several years now, $50,000. We're asking that mainly to help offset the cost of our operational and our admin side of our thing. We just did learn this past spring that we did lose money from our KDOT grant. We get our money from the FTA, and who gives it to KDOT, who gives it to us. We lost a little over $12,000 in admin funds from KDOT. We are not the only agency in the state of Kansas that has lost money. There are a lot of agencies across the state of Kansas that have been cut drastically. Unfortunately, it's an issue that we'll have to deal with. We are asking for the same amount due to the rising costs of the expenses that we are having. We just learned that the buses that we run for public transportation have doubled in price. They went from $60,000 to $65,000 a piece to $130,000 a piece. So they are a little bit pricier than before. We don't know why that is, but we have to follow KDOT's rules on regulations and everything. So again, we're asking for the same amount of money. Our ridership is pretty steady right now due to the COVID pandemic. We are hoping that eventually it will rise. We did raise our prices about a year ago, and as being the transportation manager, I did hear from a lot of our clients, who we serve over 1,000 clients in Ellis County, that they weren't happy because we raised their prices, but unfortunately we had to offset the costs, or we would be in the red instead of the black. So again, we appreciate everything that Ellis County Commission has done for us in the past, and we hope that we can continue to see the funds that we request from you folks. So I'm open to any questions if you guys have any questions for me.
How many vehicles do you run currently through Ellis County?
Ellis County, we have one bus that is assigned to the route that runs on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We go as anywhere in Ellis County. If a client calls and wants to get a ride in Ellis County, we will provide that ride for them.
Okay.
I have nothing, just thanks for what you do, and
Sure.
that bus price is just, yeah, that's stupid, you know.
Yeah,
What do
it
you do?
is. I mean, there's a lot of agencies that, we're running most of our buses that we requested for repair, to replace, not repair, are already over 100-some thousand miles. And eventually the cost of the maintenance on them is just drastic. It's getting way out of proportion. So,
Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. You'll have a good day.
You too.
You too. Okay, DSNWK?
Feels good to be number two. No, no, Wade does a nice job. Good morning, Commissioners. Jerry Michaud, DSNWK, the President, CEO for 31 years, been there. And happy to be able to come before you and report out and make our requests for 2024. You know, just a little bit of background, not everyone knows we're a 501c3. We sometimes are confused with the government. Not that it's a bad thing, but confused that way, but we are a 501c3, and the rates that are set in our system are set by the legislature. And we saw an increase in 2022, which was very welcomed, and allowed us to at least get our starting wage from what was $10 an hour, which is not good, to $14 an hour. So if you compare our kind of overall numbers from prior year to current year, you'll see an elevation in overall revenue, and that's kind of helps explain what that was. It was an increase in that federal state level of funding. Workforce continues to be an ongoing challenge. I think everyone is experiencing that. I was looking at the unemployment rates. I think it's 2.1 here in Ellis County. It just means there's not a lot of folks that are out there looking for jobs. Just a quick touch on staff vacancy. I looked for our whole region. We have 21 open positions at this point. 13 of those are here in Ellis County. And so it's an ongoing challenge for us, and we'll keep working at that. Let me touch on just real briefly about need and current need in our state. I know I've shared before that in the intellectual and developmental disability world, there's about 49, just under 5,000 people who are waiting for services, and their wait time is 10 years. That's not a mistake, that's real. 10-year wait. For us in Ellis County, I believe that number is, we're right about 40 people of 100 and, what is that number? 140 people in our 18-county region. So there's a lot of folks waiting, and that's a need that is not contained within our our request, but a little bit of background in terms of our mission and what's before us. So let me jump right to our request. Our request is for the same as last year, $250,000. We give a breakdown on the one sheet called the Ellis County Commission Report. It's for calendar year 2022. Mine's blue. I'm not sure which one came, if that color came through for you. But we look at the 173 FTE people that we serve in the county. And on that sheet, you can see the various services, because we provide a number of them, college for living, work services, residential, and others. But we give a breakdown of the federal and state funds that come to support each of those people, and then we break it down to say what's the difference between that and our costs. And that's what we come to you all. Our overall cost for services for that period of time, about $5.33 million. We received from federal and state about $4.98 million, leaving an unmet balance, or a local need, if you will, of $351,434. So we are very appreciative of the county's support. I don't know how we could do it without that. We certainly are reaching out to other funding sources through foundation support and of every kind to help fill the gap. So the need is real, and definitely appreciate the support. The last document, I think actually there are two left in here. One is an economic benefit sheet, which is breaks down for 2022. For Ellis County, it's a big number, $7.733366 million. That's a wonderful thing for an economic impact for right here in our county. And you can look at that number again. We show a 5-year running amount, and you can see how that has kind of crept up. The largest one was due to that increase in our federal and state reimbursements. So the last document that's in here is, we title it our impact sheet, and it gives you a 18-county view of services, number of people served, number of staff. We have about 230 staff here that are based or rooted here in Ellis County. That's pretty significant. And then on the back side of that same sheet breaks down those various services that we provide, and you'll see the spikes in each of those graphs are all Ellis County, because that's where the lion's share of folks we serve here in our region. So that was a pretty quick run through. Do you have any questions for me? Maybe not quick enough.
You said people sometimes wait an average of 10 years for services. What are some of the services they may wait 10 years to receive?
Okay. There are some services that are mandated, like targeted case management is one, and that is really and we provide that service. So it might be a navigation position. So a person who knows the complexities of Medicaid and state system services, and they can help families as they're coming through the school system, graduating and waiting. So what can they do? And so many of the folks remain at home, and that's not ideal, especially if their life, they're wanting to move on, and have the type of independence that you and I would hope for. And then, but that's a service that we still provide it even though people are waiting. Now, to your question, depends on that individual. Some people can live pretty independent in a residential setting, but they might just need a little bit of support that helps them be successful. It might be grocery shopping, it might be money management, so they stay in a good place. Others, their need might be 24/7, total hands-on support, every aspect of living. So it just kind of depends on the particulars of that individual. But generally, it's a day service, a residential service that those folks are primarily waiting for, or something where it's like in their home supported. So it's a great question.
So what would be needed to cut that wait time down?
Well, the state is in the process, and I may have touched on this maybe the last time I was visiting, but the state knows that this is a massive challenge, nearly 5,000 people. They are looking at something called a community support waiver, which in our world, try not to be overly complicated, it is complicated. The Medicaid system has what they call a home and community-based services waiver. Home and community-based services are just kind of what it sounds like. It's community services. But Medicaid, which is the primary dollars that come through, were generally intended for health care, for the poor. And so federal and state governments got together in the 70s, 80s, I believe, and developed a way or a pathway to share. State puts up about 40%, the feds put in the 60%. Don't quote me on those numbers, but because it changes a little bit. But they are able to draw in resources. We have something right now, the way services are paid for now is called a comprehensive waiver. They're looking at developing a community support waiver, which is less than the comprehensive, but it might be intermittent, maybe potluck types of services. If I need just this, I can get that. If I need a couple of these pieces, but not the whole thing, I can do that. But that waiver doesn't exist today. The legislature compelled it forward through some proviso language this past session. I know the Department of Aging and Disability Services is working on it, but it's a 1 to 2 year process before that happens. How will that actually touch the people that are waiting? We'll have to see how that comes. Right now, the person who's waiting the longest is the one that goes into the service. So if somebody in Ellis County or in Northwest Kansas leaves the system to death or whatever, we can't just go to the waiting list and serve the next person. That would be logical, but that's not the way it works. It works off who's waiting longest, which might be somebody in Johnson County. So it's a complicated matter, and I'm glad to see that we're going to be moving and making some progress, but it's a big challenge for the state. And then we'll definitely do our part to make that happen, because we've got people's lives in the balance. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Anything else?
you said 31 years. Thank you for that many years of service. And how about your staff? Are you fully staffed?
No, right now, it's a challenge. I think we have for Ellis County 14, I think that's 14 open positions. But that's down. Just a little bit ago, it was at 21. So I know we had some people coming in, but it's a constant challenge to find people to step into this line of work. And I'll add, and maybe Sarah, who follows me, real professional positions like speech language pathologists, tough to find. And so some of those positions are open, and I've used up too much time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, Northwest Kansas KidLink.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sarah Biggs, DS&WK KidLink, so we're another branch of service. I get to work with the babies, so I've got a fun job. But anyway, so KidLink is our early intervention, 0 through the age of 3. Our staff will go into the homes, work with the family, the child, to make sure that they're hitting their milestones that they need to be hitting before school. If they're still struggling in certain areas, then we also will work with the Part B services through the school districts. So just to ensure, again, that that child is keeping up on whether that be speech, motor ability, what have you. So backing up, our request again this year is $120,000. Last year was our first full year here. As you know, this program early on was through Hayes Area Children's Center, which they were having staffing crisis issues with being able to support the program. So as a surrounding early intervention program, the state had contacted us, and we took on Ellis County and a portion of Rush County as well. At the time of the transition, Hayes Area Children's Center had transitioned 47 little kiddos to us. From May 2022 to May 23, we served approximately 125, 128 kiddos just within Ellis County. So we've been able to really grow and serve a lot more kids. So as you can see, that our program tremendously grew with taking on Ellis County. Staffing wise, we have 9.5 positions, 100% dedicated to just our Part C early intervention program. So the funding that's coming in then through the KDHE Part C grant, our special ed CAD aid, the local funding, which for Ellis County is our county mill money, and then United Way of Ellis County. Medicaid also, we can bill if a child has Medicaid, but it is definitely not a requirement for them to have Medicaid. We do no charge to the families as mandated from the state. As far as positions, we do currently have a full-time ECSC position open, Stockton, Norton, Phelps County area, PTOT position, and of course it's so hard if you do the search for early intervention PTOT, it's across the state. Just finding those professionals are extremely challenging. We are lucky to have 2 contracted PTs that work with us that hit our counties and meet our needs, and as well as our staff backfilling then across all of our counties. So what questions do you guys have for me?
I have no questions at this point. I appreciate your service and what you're doing, but at this time, I have no questions.
I do too.
All right. Thank you guys for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, I will excuse myself from this.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jolene Ernberger. I'm here on behalf of the Center for Life Experience. This is Laura Allen, who is our executive director for the center. We are here today to thank you for your past support of our program and also to ask your consideration for continued support of the Center for Life Experience. We're a nonprofit. The organization that we have is one that helps people get through a process of grief for their loss, the trauma of grief. We have 4 core groups with the organization. One is the Healing Hearts Support Group, which are individuals who have lost a child, the devastating loss of a child that really never ends. And this support group meets monthly. We also have the Healing After Loss group, which is a group that has individuals who have lost significant other, for example, a spouse, any adult, a spouse, a family member, a parent, an adult child. This support group meets monthly, and we have the Healing Hearts, Healing After Loss, and the HALOS group, my God, the Healing After Loss of Suicide, which this group has experienced the loss of someone who has completed suicide a loved one who has completed suicide. These groups meet monthly. The HALOS groups meet twice a month, and they range from small groups of sometimes just a small group of maybe 3, 4, 5 people, up to, we've had as many as 16 people. People have traveled as far as Colby. They come from other counties, surrounding counties, because there is no other such group in the area for folks who can get together and be supported. These groups are facilitated. We have facilitators. Laura will be not only the administrative arm of the organization, but she will supervise and oversee the facilitators in the group. She will be the fundraising and part of the organization as well. The Healing Hearts group also, we have the Healing Kids Heart Retreat, which matches trained adults with children who have experienced loss in their family. It could be a parent they've lost, or a grandparent, or a sibling, maybe a class member. These are the children that don't understand grief, loss, whatever, and the adult is there to help guide them through the process and help them try to understand what they're feeling, emotional issues that they're feeling. The Healing Hearts group also has an avenue of pinwheels, which you may be aware of. There was recently an article about that, in which, and they also have a holiday memorial tree, which they gather to memorialize and remember and celebrate the life of a child that they have lost. We're asking for your support, the same amount, in the amount of $5,000 that was requested last year. This is a nonprofit. We rely on Ellis County, as well as donations, grants, and gifts from individuals, the boards. We have board members who are terrific fundraisers as well. And the support that you've provided has been significantly helpful to us. And we ask your consideration for that support again this year. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that you may have about our organization.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Jolene.
I don't have anything at this time either. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Laura. We'll see you. Laura's bugging out. I'm next on the agenda. Thank you for whomever did that.
Thank you.
I'm also here to ask your consideration and support for the agencies that came before the Ellis County Council on Aging for support of the services that they provide as well. There are 6, hello, Mr. Chair. There are 6 agencies that came to request funding through the Ellis County Council on Aging. The Ellis Nutrition Center, the Victoria Meal Site, and the Hayes Senior Center all provide congregate and home-delivered meals to individuals in their communities. The Ellis Nutrition Site and the Hayes Senior Center also provide opportunities for people to gather, and socialize, to receive education, and also to gather for socialization there at their sites. These meals are truly important to the people that are homebound or disabled in their homes, so this is indeed a very valuable service. The Foster Grandparent Senior Companion Program requested funding as well. These are 2 federal programs sponsored by Fort Hays State University, in which services are provided by limited income seniors, helping 2 different segments of the population. The Foster Grandparents is an intergenerational program which is matched with children with special or exceptional needs. They serve in schools, daycare centers, or other child-centered facilities. They may help with socialization, or with behavioral issues, or help with academics, things of that sort, in the classroom under the supervision of a teacher. Senior companions are matched with other frail, elderly, homebound, disabled adults, so that they can help them remain independently in their homes. They might provide some transportation, possibly some respite care for family caregivers. They provide companionship and enable people to remain in their homes, and hopefully forestall institutionalization, which is a great savings to the county and to the community. The funding that is requested by the Foster Grandparent Senior Companion Program from the county that is requested helps them to meet their federal match. That is what that is utilized for. And these folks are the volunteers. Senior Companion Foster Grandparents are volunteers that are limited income. They're provided training, they're provided background checks, they're provided a travel allowance and small stipend in order to keep them active, because they are a limited income and they can provide those services. The Area Agency on Aging, of course, provides a myriad of services, and Michelle Morgan, who is the Executive Director, is in the audience as well this evening, or this morning. It's this morning, still morning. So if you have any questions, I'll just let you ask Michelle about the Area Agency on Aging. Actually, myriad of services, case management, information and referral, personal cares, bathing. They provide these types of services. They also provide respite care. They provide Medicaid assessments and assistance as well, and help people to get assistance with legal services. One of the programs that helps a great deal are helping with older people who are in need of help with prescription drugs to find the most effective way to obtain prescription drugs at the least cost for themselves. Housekeeping services, these are all provided for folks who are in need of these services in order to help them be as independent and remain in their homes. I would just say that one of the benefits of course, serving the elderly in our community is significant, important, and absolutely vital to the growth of our communities and our counties, and helping these people stay in their homes as long as possible is what all of these programs are all about. The area agency, the funding that was requested was also funding that would help them meet the match for the federal funding that they receive. They also are making the congregate meals and the home-delivered meals possible as well. So, very valuable to other people in our community. With that, if I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to, if you have any.
At this time, I have no questions at this time. Thank you for what you're doing.
You're most welcome. I just want to mention, Mr. Burgess, do you have any questions?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Younger, no. I do want to tell you, I'm just begging for, I just want to thank Darren as well. He's been very helpful with the Ellis County Council on Aging and helping to, shepherd us through the process. And so you've been great. I appreciate it, Darren. Thank you all.
Thanks, Jolene.
Thank you.
Okay, options, domestic sexual violent services.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Cross. I'm the Development Director at Options. This is Jennifer Hecker, our Executive Director. Is there anybody that's not familiar with what Options does? Okay, so we provide the domestic violence and sexual assault services for the northwest 18 counties of Kansas. We also provide services for elder abuse, for human trafficking, teen dating violence, and stalking. We are celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. We started out as an agency of Fort Hays professors and some of their friends sitting around saying, somebody ought to do something, and realized that they were somebody, and created the agency that's become Options. They started out by housing people on their couches, not necessarily the safest option, but what was available at the moment. We have an office here in Hays. We have a satellite office in Colby. And we also have a shelter home here in the Ellis County area that can house up to 14 people. When the shelter is full, that overflow goes to hotels. So the information that you have in your packet, did you receive this beforehand to read?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, perfect. So
The purple side is the domestic violence. Hopefully you got the color copy. The purple side is domestic violence, and the teal side on the back is sexual assault and stalking.
Okay. And so even though we have 18 counties in our service area, the services to Ellis County make up almost half of all of the services we provide. And the statistics in this pamphlet that you were given are the statistics from not last year, but the year before that. And the reason we do that is because that's when the KBI releases their information, so we try to keep the comparison the same, apples to apples, so to speak. But I will give you a statistic from last year. since Jennifer joined the organization, the first few years she has been with us, we spent close to $4,000 on overflow to hotels. Last year alone, we spent close to $80,000. Our services are always free, they are always confidential, and they are always survivor-driven, which means, I know you heard mention of mandated reporting earlier. We are actually not mandated reporters, and that is by design, because we want people to come to us and seek services that
In a way that's safe.
in a way that's safe, that they know that it doesn't set off a chain reaction of other situations that they don't have control of. We always allow the survivor to have control. Now, that being said, do we encourage people to report in a situation where it would be otherwise reported? Absolutely. If you notice statistics in Kansas, 22% of all homicides in Kansas are domestic violence related. In Ellis County, the last 6 homicides or attempted homicides have been domestic violence related.
And that's pretty significant, to know that all the murders in your town, the last 6 murders have all been related to domestic violence. You know, that's a pretty serious epidemic in our community.
We are working with Hayes Police Department, specifically Chief Scheibler, to develop a lethality examination, also in conjunction with Johnson County and
Wichita.
Because when officers respond to a situation, they can then give a survivor an idea of just how much danger they're in. When you are in a domestic violence situation and that's what you're normally used to, you become numb to that situation and you don't necessarily understand that when someone puts their hands on your throat, you are in grave danger. And it also assists the officers in responding and helping them understand as well. So any law agency in our service area that would want to partner with that, we would certainly welcome, but Hayes has been instrumental in that. So make sure I've told you everything of our past year. I know everybody keeps talking about when services are going to go back to normal, and the thing that we've realized is that this is the new normal. We have been very good about making sure our name is out there. There's been a lot of national talk about domestic violence and seeking services. There's been some really good programs, shows, movies that have addressed that situation, that have taken some of that stigma away. But we still know that reporting is many people don't actually report.
And the profiles show you that. You can see that, you know, of the 18 incidents of sexual assault that were reported to law enforcement, only 4 arrests were made, but we provided 166 services, and those weren't just to 18 people.
And we also,
far more people are receiving services than are reporting to law.
and we also recognize too that there are a lot of factors that go into making an arrest, that, you know, we don't want to ever make it sound like somebody is not making an arrest when they should, because there's criteria to making an arrest. But
And I think Ellis County has a lot to be proud of. If you look at the domestic violence incidents and arrests, it far exceeds the state arrest record. And that's important because Kansas has a shall arrest mandate. If there is a domestic violence report, law enforcement officers are mandated to determine who is the primary aggressor and are required to arrest them. And so, you know, when we look at other counties and we see that over the state, less than half of them actually end up in arrest, why are we still asking why people don't report? Because nothing happens when they do. In Ellis County, we can say that that doesn't happen very often. Our police department in Ellis County and our sheriff's department do a wonderful job compared to the rest of the state.
Options is available 24/7, 365 days a year, 366 on leap year, of course. We, at the time we developed it, and I believe we're still the only agency in Kansas and possibly the nation that has an app that survivors can utilize. You can download it through the Google Play or the Apple Store, and you can text privately, quietly, and it doesn't save any of the messages so that safety is addressed. You can also chat from our website. You can call our helpline. We also have DoxyMe software, which is a HIPAA-compliant video conferencing software, so people can attach to that and have help directly from an advocate in filling out a protection from stalking order, or PSSA, protection from stalking and sexual assault, or a PFA, a protection from abuse order. So those can be kind of tricky for people to fill out. There is an online form that people can fill out now, and we help walk them through that. Last year, this is the Ask for Money Day. So last year we asked for $10,000. We received $7,500. And again, we asked this year for $10,000 to keep the ask the same, but our services went up, so we felt that that was necessary.
Services went up, funding is going down.
Yeah, we are also funded in part by a VOCA grant. Jennifer, you want to talk more about how some of the grants?
Yeah, so VOCA is a federal grant, the Victims of Crime grant, and it was our largest grant. And as you heard from the Western Children's Advocacy Center, they also have the same grant. That grant is going to be reduced 40% this year. And so we are really trying to prepare for that cut as best we can. So money is going down and needs are going up. And so that's why we're coming to you with the same ask that we came with last year, because the need is so incredibly high. These numbers don't typically move a lot from year to year, but in 2023, they really did. We typically provide about an average of 1,500 to 1,600 bed nights in our shelter a year. It's been a pretty steady average for about 5 or 6 years. This year, we provided over 4,800 bed nights in shelter. That's not a small increase, and that's not going away. People are still coming. People are still in need, and we think that new normal is going to continue to grow and grow. And about almost half of our bed nights in Ellis County are provided to Ellis County residents in our shelter. Yeah, almost half.
So 426 bed nights in 2 years ago, over a year and a third, or year and a quarter service of bed nights to someone from Ellis County. Not necessarily the same person, but the equivalent of someone living at the shelter for a year and a quarter. So, yeah, what are you curious about? Do you have any questions for us?
So a couple of them. What type of agency are you? Are you a governmental agency? Are you a nonprofit agency?
We are a 501c3 organization.
Okay.
We receive federal and state grants. We also fundraise, private sector fundraisers, foundations. We go after pretty much any grant and apply for, even if we think it's a super long shot. The worst they can say is no, but they can't say yes if you don't ask. So we seek funding from many sources. And I guilt my parents all the time.
Yeah, our parents are tired of us. Yeah, no. About 20% of our funds come from private donations. And that's an increase. When I started, it was about 10%. So we've been able to grow that. We continue to grow that. Many years ago, we didn't have a development director. We now have a full-time development director. We are currently in the quiet phase of a capital campaign. As you're hearing, our shelter is woefully too small. We have 14 beds. When it gets really, really busy and the dollars are really tight, we can pack about 18 people in there, and it's not comfortable. People are sleeping on couches, in living rooms. things like that. So, and that's not living with dignity, and that you don't heal from trauma sleeping on a floor or sleeping on a couch. And so.
You don't die, but.
Right.
Your
But this is
dignity
not, yes,
se-
this is
you know,
not moving on.
severely
So,
affected.
Yeah, and so, you know, the need just continues to grow. And federal dollars are shrinking. And so, you know, the need grows, the dollars shrink. We need your help.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you. We do, I do want to end by saying that one of the other things that we do in the community is to support other agencies like ours, so that we're not duplicating our services. So, for example, you know, we're able, because we have staff 24/7, we're able to respond to the hospital for sexual assault exams. When the Children's Advocacy Center is closed, our staff are able to respond because they don't have 24-hour services and they don't need it. They don't need to replicate what's already happening in the community. And then we're able to make that soft handoff, let the parents know what's going to happen next in those steps, working with law enforcement, providing free training in the community for law enforcement, other things like that are also part of what we do.
And a soft handoff so that children aren't re-traumatized in that process, because that's a very sensitive time. And we appreciate what the Western Kansas Children's Advocacy Center does as well. So.
Michael?
No, thank you. Tough stuff. So appreciate the information.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that with working with the children's advocacy. That's what the community's about.
Yep.
Getting together and
Yep.
making it happen and work.
Yeah, and pulling to each other's strengths. And it's not about siloing our services, but how we can come together and work together.
Again, thank you for what you guys do, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Heartland Community Foundation?
Hello, good morning. Sarah Meitner, I'm the director at the Heartland Community Foundation, and thank you for having us here today. We are reiterating our ask that we've had for the last few years for $5,000 next February. So in each year during February, we celebrate is maybe not the right word, but we do our tasked with doing our Match Month initiative, where we are given the opportunity to have grant dollars, matching dollars from the Dane G. Hansen Foundation. So that $5,000 from the county would go toward our Ellis County Legacy Fund, which is our primary granting fund. So we support nonprofit agencies. Many of those are here today with grant dollars to do the projects and programs that they are so good at doing. We also assist them in fundraising, or not fundraising, but in receiving non-cash gifts or in other services or in ways that we can help offer them support. We support donors with taking them the projects that they might be interested in giving money to. And we support community development projects by being a resource to help find grant dollars or to help further projects so that they are taking good quality applications to Hansen or to ourselves. We just completed our spring cycle last week. Those requests or those determination letters are going out today to the nonprofit groups. Your contribution toward the Ellis County Legacy Fund helps make it possible that we can grant even more. So last week, we went through all of those applications. We received $558,000 in requests, and we only had about $150,000 to grant out. So a little bit, maybe not apples to apples, but what you guys are doing today and making those determinations is a little bit of what we had. The difference is that the more that we continue to grow this legacy fund, the more that we continue to grant out and support these wonderful organizations to where they are maybe self-sustaining, they are maybe through their endowments or through some of the projects that we can grant to. It all evens out, though they'll probably still come and ask for more too. But it is sort of the gift your donation or your gift to Heartland is the gift that just keeps on growing and giving. So I included in our packet as well a list of the organizations that have endowed funds with us. I think that was on page 2. Yep. So those are the Ellis County ones, so that they can continue investing in their own long-term sustainability, or donors might seek them out. I feel like I just kind of rambled, so I don't know if you have any questions for me or if you have any comments.
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for all your hard work you've done.
Sure.
I've watched you over the last few years, and you've worked hard. Thank you.
Feels like we're trying to do a little bit of everything. Kind of like you guys in that it's going, what do we prioritize? Do we prioritize, with grant dollars, do we prioritize kids? Do we prioritize victims? Do we prioritize arts and culture? And it really is about balance and trying to improve and sustain the quality of life that we can here in Ellis County. So I don't envy the position that you guys are in trying to make these judgments, but I get it. So it's
Thank you
not
again.
easy. So
Thank you, sir.
okay, thank you so much.
Okay, Humane Society?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Betty Hansen. I'm the manager director of the Humane Society. This is Jessica Freeb. She's my assistant manager. We do appreciate your past support, and again, this year are asking for the same amount as last year, $2,600. I think most of you know what we do at the shelter, but I wanted to talk about the $2,600 and what we use that for. These funds are used for animals that strictly come from Ellis County. We are contracted with the city of Hayes for animals that are brought in from the city, which is different. We have a contract with the Hayes Police Department for that. These funds cover animals that are left in the county, come to people's farms. Sometimes they're dumped, depending on what the situation is. Sometimes they're sick, and people just take them out and dump them in the county, and then they're brought into us. That's what these funds cover. Any other entity that brings us animals, whether it's outside of Ellis County, they have to pay the fees. Ellis County residents, do not have to pay to bring these animals to us. They do not have to pay any fees for their care. That's all taken over by the shelter. In our letter, we kind of gave two stories about two that were brought in, and I'll give you a quick story from last week. A young lady saw a dog in the county on a road, went to try to pick it up to bring it to us, and was bitten. This happened in the county, which then was covered by the sheriff's department. But the after effect of that is that animal had to be tested for her health to make sure that it wasn't rabied, which those fees would be covered by the shelter, which we did. The animal was tested and was negative for rabies, but at a cost that the shelter picked up. So that's the kinds of things that these funds are used for. I'm going to see if you guys have any questions, because I think, like I said, you're all kind of aware of what we do, and we tried to explain as much as we could in our information to you.
Anything?
I have no questions. I appreciate the efforts that you provide our county.
Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your past support.
Okay, thanks,
you.
Betty.
Thanks.
Okay, Casa of the High Plains?
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jan Johnson. I'm the new executive director for CASA the High Plains. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, very low budget. You're looking at the sole paid position in the outfit. Sure appreciate your past support. My understanding is we're asking for the same support that we received last year. We're looking to increase our presence in the district that we cover, increase our volunteer numbers, which will then allow us to support more kids. Had a big, if you've got the paperwork in front of you, had a big drop due to COVID. I've been in this position just a shade over a month, so I have a lot to learn. We're going to grow. We've got some new board members. We're looking to increase our presence and increase our value to the community and bring more to the public and to the kids. Again, there's probably a lot I can't answer, but do y'all have any questions?
Comment, thank you for jumping on board. I mean,
Yeah, I'm tickled to be here, for sure.
thank you for doing
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jen.
Thank y'all.
We made it easy on you, so,
I appreciate that very much.
thank you. Okay, Ellis County Historical Society.
Butch wasn't here for her first time. She got off easy. Anyway, thanks again for having us, commissioners. I'm Amanda Rupp, this year the executive director of the Historical Society here in Ellis County, and I've been here at least a half dozen times over the past year to kind of fill you in, so I think you guys are well aware, and what's coming around is in no way, shape, or form a bribe. It is our way of saying thank you for past, for your confidence in us, but also it's just a little taste of our best fundraiser that we've had the past couple of years. We made a couple $1,000s off these at Oktoberfest, so please enjoy. And I get a little intimidated. I like speaking to you guys during the year, but with all these other agencies and see what a significant impact they make on our community is amazing, and you guys have a hard job. So I stand up here a little humble because what we talk about isn't necessarily life-dependent or life-threatening, but I just wanted to go over a little bit of not all what's in the packet. I have quite a few of my board members with us today, but I wanted to, just for the county and for anybody left that's here, go over just a little bit of our history and where we are real quickly. It was just this is a little excerpt from some of our copy for our fundraiser, latest fundraiser. Obviously, for the past decade, after the past decade, we can finally say that we are in a really good place. And the Historical Society's future looks really, really bright. Formed in '71, those involved in the early years of ECHS were really a veritable who's who of Ellis County influencers: Don Bickle, Father Blaine Berkey, Stanley Dalton, Mildred Dries, Norma and Ann Jeter, Willie Pfeiffer, Doug Phillip, Scotty Phillip, Adolph Rising, Pat Schmidt, Lawrence Weigel, so many others that formed this over 50 years ago, so that the history that touches everybody in the county wouldn't be forgotten. One of their very first projects was the bronze markers that you see all over town that are still standing today and still, welcome visitors to learn about our history and the Wild West that came around. Later projects included the purchase and landscaping of Boot Hill as a park in Hayes, and then the purchase of the Presbyterian Church for our museum. We added the Volga German House, the harness shop, and then all the artifacts that we collected, culminating in the addition of the Sternberg collection in 2010. We've put on pioneer days, quilt shows, wedding dress displays over the years, which were well attended by all in the county and the city. But there's no question, obviously, that the past 10 years we were teetering on the brink of extinction and saw a lot of challenges we faced. But we have turned that corner and we are focusing on the future. The calendar year 2022, we saw some unbelievable success. the effort to save the stone church. We moved those artifacts out of that basement area, and the Phase 1 remodel of the basement got us back onto there, and we're able to open up our doors again on Main Street, which is important for downtown Maine, or downtown Hayes. The 2023 plans are on track for the renovation of the brick church. The ADA accessible bathroom is completed. The exterior, along with the curator lab and accessibility on the south side, will be started late summer, early fall. And then the HVAC system, that is the big ticket price item, is on order and will be installed in conjunction with each floor's remodel. So we have made tremendous strides in the past couple of years. I know that our ask is a significant one, so I know that a lot of people ask, can they get their own funds? This is not a need, a want, a luxury of life, I guess. So yes, I would like to go over just a little bit of, absolutely, we can get our own funds. We've done a tremendous job of that. In 2022, we raised over $39,000. There was a couple typos, I think, in the stuff that I sent you, but $39,000 in private donations, just under $10,000 towards, or in community grants, towards our home there at Hayes, and another $100,000 in private donations towards a storage facility that we hope will be Victoria. We're still working on. And that was just all in 2022. Already in 2023, we have received over $31,000 in individual donations towards Phase 2. We will be working on a match portion of Phase 2 for another $25,000 to be matched to make $50,000 in private donations for that Phase 2. And then we have acquired over $434,000 in grants in the last 6 months for Phase 2 renovations. And I just want to point out that we work with the community grants, and we worked really hard in the past couple of years to turn this ship around, and we are very pleased to announce that we have a wonderful large gift pledge from the Schmidt Foundation, expressing their confidence in us, and that we have good sustainability for the next 5 years in terms of making changes to our campus and the structural changes for a wonderful site here at home. But all of those funds are capital improvement funds only. Obviously, our core of our operating expense rely on public funds, a quality of life expenditure. No museum sustains itself on programs. I've said that a lot. I think in your packet I talked about a museum in Lawrence that I got the statistics from. Wonderful museum, but their revenue from admissions is 8%. The revenue from community support and memberships and sponsorships is like 7%, something like that. The Fort Hays Historic Site, run by the Kansas State Historical Society, it has gone recently to a no admissions policy as well. So it's not going to pull its weight on a $7 admissions fee. So we really depend on public funding. So why are we increasing our request amount? For those that weren't maybe on the commission 10 years ago, I see it more as not raising the amount, but coming back to the equivalent support of what the county and the city and the community helped us with 10 years ago, which at its highest was in 2013, and they had about 5 staff at the time. And so what the money from the county and the city both do is to pay utilities on the campus and to retain the small staff that we have currently. Today, still no one is full-time. Later this year, I will be hopefully going to full-time. We've been saving some of those wages because of trying to make sure that our budget was in the black this year, but wanting to at least have 2 full-time staff members and maybe 2 or 3 part-time staff members. And then what kind of bang do you get for your buck? The 2023 numbers, since we opened our doors January 1st, we have seen over 450 visitors for free. 65% of those visitors are Ellis County residents. Over 70 visitors have come in the past 12 days in June to see our exhibit that came from the Smoky Hill Museum. And 14 visitors are from other states, 14 other states, excuse me. And two other countries are represented. We've seen people from France and Argentina in the past couple months. We've amassed over 650 volunteer hours in 5 months, and we're just planning to keep going. Our events planned, obviously, are community events that we participate in, Herzogfest, Oktoberfest, art walks. We're going to be hosting our second annual trivia night, which is one of our fundraisers that really goes towards operating costs. This year we earned, I think, about $2,000 in that. Each year, hopefully, we'll gain. We are bringing in some Humanities Kansas speakers this fall and next year. This year, we will be co-hosting the Kansas Museums Association Conference, state conference in November, and in 2026, we will be helping host the national conference for the American Historical Society of Germans from Russia, which will all bring lots of, hopefully, dollars to the county for tourism. During the summer, we have extended hours thanks to 2 interns and some evening hours. And I just learned last night that we're going to try and teach Duroc, a card game. Anybody played that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't play it. Apparently, some people played it. Grandparents played it. Old card game. So, Neil, if you know how to play it, come on down and teach us. No, we've got a board member that's going to teach us how to play that. And then we're going to continue to have traveling exhibits. And then something that we've wanted to bring back for has been definitely in our eyesight is bringing back that Pioneers Day that serves about 200 students once a year in May for like a field day to like, I think, 3rd graders, 4th graders age. So hopefully we can bring that back this year that we're back on campus. A little plug for what's coming up. Tonight is our monthly volunteer work evening. So from 6 to 8 every second Tuesday, we are just doing odd tasks, and anybody that wants to join us. Last month we had 2 new faces that we had never seen stop by, young kids that helped us paint some things around the campus, and so we'll take anybody, and hopefully next summer I'll come to you and say you'll see a crew down there, 30 people every second Tuesday. And we are excited. We like working with the other, the history of Ellis County touches everybody in Ellis County, and that's kind of what we do, but we like supporting, being the fun side of things and supporting other nonprofits, especially when we're not open full-time. We plan to have a lemonade stand to help the ARC. I know that if you've heard about that, their fundraiser coming up next week, stop by our corner. We will be selling some bootleg lemonade on June 29th from 4 to 6. And then the Notorious exhibit that is in our basement commons area is, it's a nice exhibit. It has scavenger hunt, it has activity workbooks, it has a touch screen crime scene display that you work through a witness scenario. Great for the kids. It will be up through August 31st. So I know that, I don't know, I think I've answered a lot of questions, but do you guys have any questions for me? I try to keep it brief.
I have no questions. I appreciate what you've done and turning things around and seeing it really go forward. So I look forward to the continued progress.
Okay.
No questions. Thank you, Amanda.
No.
I do. Did you ever think you would be this far?
Yeah, of course I did.
When we first started this, that was a train wreck.
Yeah, it was.
And I'll say the story. My dad was in World War II. When I took stuff down there, they wouldn't even take it. I ended up taking it to Trigo County, which broke my heart. And thank you for what you guys have done, all the volunteers. Just a lot of hard work you've guys done.
A lot of hard work, a lot of passion, and it's taken some, some new eyes, I think, to look at it and to make some serious decisions and some tough moves on things. And it's taken a little bit of community support to, willing to take one last chance again. So we appreciate that, and we work hard to keep your trust in how we spend our dollars. So, I know I put it in your guys' packet, and the other 2 commissioners weren't there that year, but I'm sure they heard about it, about Butch's comments, our first meeting. I think we've righted our ship.
Yep.
And so hopefully you see the fruits of what you pass on to us, so.
Thanks again, Amanda.
And please, I know I think I've sent an email to each of you, but I'd love to show you around back of house anytime you have a chance, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, those are Donna's. Donna on our board. That is not a bribe.
Is that all right if I call her? Okay, big brothers, big sisters?
Good morning.
Good
Sorry I
morning.
don't have
Morning.
any food to bribe you with. But I did get lots of exciting ideas that we need to share with our matches that's going on at the Historical Society. I'm Jenny Bates. I'm the area director for Big Brothers Big Sisters here in Ellis County. I first want to thank you for your contribution to Big Brothers Big Sisters this year. It's the first year that we've received Ellis County funding, and we are again requesting for 2024 the same funding of $5,000 to support our mentoring program. Big Brothers Big Sisters is a youth mentoring program, and we pair children in our community starting at age 5. They can be matched till they're age 17 with an adult volunteer, a friend who will guide them and encourage them to see their potential, and then help them set and achieve goals for a successful life. The youth who are referred to our program come to us because they are experiencing a level of adversity related to their family situation, something going on at school, or with their behavior. Currently, in Ellis County, we have 160 matches, which is always mind-blowing to me. I'm so thankful. We have an amazing community. That means we have 160 volunteers, and actually more than that, because some of those are family and couple matches, actually over 20 of them are. So there's more people involved in that mentoring relationship with that child. We have 30 children who are waiting. So, and those numbers change on a daily basis as we make new matches, or as a match ends for some reason because someone's moving away or something changes in their life, or as new children are referred to the program. The children who are referred come from schools, their teachers, counselors. We work closely with DCF and St. Francis. If they see that need for that extra support in the child's life, they will refer them to our program as well. Some of what we are seeing in our community for the children we are serving, 14% of our kids come from a household income of less than $15,000, 46% of that being under $35,000. 49%, so basically half of the children we are serving come from a single-parent household where there's no contact with the other parent. 71% of our youth have experienced at least one traumatic event in their lifetime so far, which isn't that long. 75% of our youth have a family who's had contact with law enforcement. 49% have a history in their households of substance abuse or alcohol abuse. 46% have experienced some kind of physical, verbal, emotional, sexual abuse, or have witnessed it within their household. Over half of our children, like I mentioned, are coming because of issues in school. 62% have a mental or emotional diagnosis, and 48% of our youth, according to their parents or who has referred them, seem isolated and they're not engaged. But we know that creating and sustaining these safe and consistent relationships for these kids is helping for them to overcome these circumstances and reach their full potential. So that's what we do. We match children one-on-one in these relationships, either with a big brother, a big sister, a couple, or family. And you got to see one of our stories of our family matches that's been together for about a year, and then a couple of other pictures of our matches. We have, our average match length is 2.5 years. But that starts from new matches that were made last week in Ellis County, and our longest match has been together for 18 years. That little is now in college, and we are able to serve them until our kids are 25 years old, and to be able to support them in that after high school time where maybe they wouldn't have had that support before. In 2022, we served 212 children, which was a 7% increase from 2021. And actually, that number has been increasing since 2019, where we were maintaining around 180 matches. And now, like I said, we have 160, or that's serving 180 children, and now we're serving, this year we're projecting to serve around 220. Because as we have our waiting list, we're always out working, trying to find new volunteers in the community. We go out to businesses and different organizations. We have a great partnership with the university to find those people and encourage them and inspire them to step up and walk alongside. And even though our need has increased and we are serving more children, that's because we have volunteers who continue to want to step up and be a part of this and invest in a child's life to help them be successful. When a volunteer commits to being a BIG, they are committing to at least doing that for 1 year. But like I said, on average, they're staying together for at least 2.5 years, some of them even longer. And even if they don't stay together being supported through our program, many of our matches are still in contact beyond us, which is our ultimate goal, is to create these lifelong relationships and friendships that child, who then becomes an adult, always has that connection with that person as a mentor and to look to for advice and just talk to about life. And then our volunteers go through a pretty rigorous screening process. We do an information session, which includes training. We do an interview, home visit, background checks. We're in contact with their references. Our ultimate goal is that this child is with a safe, stable person, that they are able to make that commitment. Because we don't want this to be another negative in this child's life. We want it to be a consistent, ongoing thing for them. And on the opposite side, for our children, and when they're coming to enroll, we do interviews with parents, and we also do interviews with our children, just to get to know them really well. We are in contact with their school teachers. If they're receiving any other services or counseling, we reach out to those agencies as well, just to get a full picture of the child and what his or her need is to have a BIG and why they need it and how this will best serve them. Once a match is made, we have 4 other staff, and so there's 5 of us total, 4 other staff. We were able, because of the continued increase, able to hire a new staff person last year in 2022, which was nice to be able to spread out that caseload as people were getting pretty overwhelmed, our staff that we had. And we are fortunate that we have a established staff. It helps we are 2 of our staff have been with us for 10 years, and 2 others are newer. But that is definitely an amazing thing as we continue to build these relationships with these families and BIGs and resources in the community. But once they're matched, we support that match through its entirety, where they are in constant contact with us. Everyone has a caseload, and they are making sure the relationship's going well. It's a safe match for the child. It's benefiting the child. We help set goals according to that child's needs, and also are just kind of a resource center for a lot of our families, so that if another need arises that we don't serve, we can refer them on for if they're needing assistance with food or bills needing help. A lot of times, it's amazing that our families don't know some of the resources that are in the community to help them through their tough times. But some of the things you might see going on in our communities in Ellis County is that our matches do. We tell them, you don't have to make over your life. It doesn't have to be a certain special time you plan out every month. Think about the things you're doing in your life and just include them. They want to be a part of that, feel included, be connected. Our matches are attending Fort Hays activities, getting on campus, which is an awesome thing for them. Now we'll start up, a lot of them will start going to Larks games. That's a nice free community event. Lots of matches have been fishing lately, Sternberg Trail, Vineyard Park, the Ellis docks. It's exciting to hear about those adventures. Going to the Hayes Public Library, working on schoolwork together as that need arises, going out to eat, putt-putt golf, swimming, bowling. It's just being at the Biggs home, being a part of their family and eating together. That's one of the things that when we talk to our littles and see how things are going, what's something you've done with your Big that you enjoy? It's being at their house and sitting down at the table and eating together. Just having that nice, quiet, consistent time. We know that, as I mentioned earlier, that this is all positive for the kids. It's helping them to become more confident. And then from there, it helps them become more involved and engaged in trying activities that they maybe wouldn't have before. We have some things that we've heard recently, a little who's more comfortable talking to the peers at school that he didn't know, and making new friends. I mentioned trying new activities and getting involved. One mom has let us know that her daughter is just really happy when she comes home after her time with her big sister. Kids are having better behaviors at school, improving in school in their academic grades. Matches, some of our older matches of littles who are in high school, talking and looking online at colleges, just having those conversations about their future and what they can see themselves doing after high school. We have a big brother who is teaching his little brother some plumbing skills and things to do for home projects, things like that he's not getting otherwise, that will help him in his future. We have a big sister who's in the National Guard, and her little sister now is interested in knowing more about that and what that might mean to be a part of that. And like I mentioned earlier with our longest match, and we have a handful of matches of littles who are in college, and those bigs being there to support them through that time. So it's just our bigs. It's helping to break some of those negative cycles going on in their homes, those statistics I mentioned earlier, to help them be productive members of our communities. And unfortunately, we've been seeing that need increase, but we hope that you'll continue to partner with us to provide those services and give that opportunity for children in our community to have a big in their life. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you, Jenny, for the update.
Yeah.
All I can say is the smiles on the faces, that's priceless.
Yes.
Thank you for what you guys
Yeah.
do.
Thank you. We enjoy it for sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eugene Rupp.
Morning, Eugene Rupp, Deputy Ellis County Appraiser. Kind of due to succession planning and restructuring within our office, we now have 4 staff members working out in the field, requiring transportation from the office here. These staff members are out performing property inspections, sales reviews, permit reviews, measuring new construction, among other duties. Currently, we have 3 vehicles in the Enterprise Fleet Management Program and 1 older county-owned vehicle that we have retained. In order to have the ability to get our staff out into the county to complete their assigned work and meet our statutory deadlines, having a 4th vehicle is essential for that. So we are requesting permission to add a vehicle to the Enterprise Fleet Management System while retaining the use of this older vehicle until such time as a replacement vehicle can become available. Did you have any questions for me?
I have no questions.
Not really. My question's actually more towards Darren. How many vehicles we have in the fleet, and the quest here is that we're increasing the number of vehicles within that fleet program, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many? We have 40?
Oh, I can log in here real quick and tell you. I think when we originally started, I don't know if Eugene was in the original conversations, but I think we had 37 vehicles identified. That includes all departments throughout the county. And, I don't think we've added any to that. We found one just last week that was supposed to have been ordered in 2021 that wasn't ordered. But we did replace the 2 pickups, and then we have the Tahoe. I believe it's the Tahoe that is there. That those 3 are in there for the appraisers, and they just have that 4th vehicle. And that was the agreement. I guess the agreement that we had with the commission at the time is when we entered. I could follow up with you after the meeting, but I believe it was 37.
Okay.
If we were to increase that, if they were to go from 3 vehicles to 4 within a department, we would come back to the commission, so that way there was oversight from the county commission, and not saying that it would happen, but we wouldn't just arbitrarily say, well, we think it needs to be 44, and we just start ordering extra vehicles. So that was why I asked Eugene and Lisa to bring this back to the commission.
Okay.
But I can follow up with you. We do have, I know, 14 vehicles on order, the F-150s. They were ordered in 2022, and then we were unsure if the F-150s would be ordered, so then for each of those 14, we ordered 28 Chevy 1500s, and then when we were unsure if those would even get built, we ordered 14 more 2023 models, so for every 1 truck, we had 4 more ordered. And the 2022 F-150s were canceled, the 22 Chevy 1500s were also canceled, and they're supposed to start seeing the 23s finally start being produced on the F-150 models with some changes on, I think it was the EcoBoost motors, being able to change some of those so that way the parts availability were available. So although you may approve a new pickup, it may be 2 years before we get it, but that's just, as you heard from several of these outside agencies, that's kind of the world we live in. Access, their vehicles are doubling in price, but we are still getting the government incentives. We're not ordering vehicles until they do get the government incentives that are entitled to us throughout whichever vehicle we order.
I think it's a good idea. We go take one in for service. You got an extra one to fall back on, so.
It just helps us keep our staff out in the field. We did have, some times last year where we had to basically create a calendar and try to stagger getting people out. And it's a little frustrating sometimes when you've got somebody sitting in the office that shouldn't be there. They should be out doing their job, so.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you, Eugene.
All right, thank you.
Okay, update on the job description, buildings and grounds. Darren?
I thought I could get Enterprise pulled up quick enough.
Oh,
but,
okay.
After the meeting, I'll try to shoot you an email real quick. Darren Myers, County Administrator. The next item on your agenda is to discuss some changes in 2 different job descriptions within Ellis County. For the last year or so, working with our buildings and grounds supervisor, he's warned us several times of the need to increase the amount of this second position for the Buildings and Grounds Department. A little bit of a recap, over 8 years ago, the county essentially only had 2 main buildings that they took care of, which was the Law Enforcement Center and the courthouse. Since then, we've grown to add in a new EMS fire station. This building, which is quite large, we've done the expansion onto the courthouse and Law Enforcement Center, the 601 main building, the new health department, and environmental services, and that's not to mention the random buildings they do take care of 5 additional fire stations occasionally and 2 EMS facilities outside of Hayes as well. And they do random work out of Public Works for minor repairs when needed. As you also heard from several of the outside agencies today, they're also having funding or issues on being able to get personnel hired in and having significant pay increases. I believe High Plains Mental Health said over $900,000 in increases for salaries. So Greg, myself, and our HR coordinator, I say Greg Gerbert, the Buildings and Grounds lead technician, we looked at the job descriptions and identified that the job descriptions primarily for the building maintenance technician was more along the descriptions of a custodial or janitor's position, which is essentially only about 25% of what they do in a day. A couple hours in the morning cleaning, followed up by systems working on fire sprinklers, fire alarms, HVAC systems, and different building systems, rooftop units, roofs, all over the building, all over the different buildings that I mentioned earlier. And we took those ideas and done some research of, not necessarily research, but we identified the jobs that were job duties that are supposed to be listed, and then started doing some comparison around NCK, the school district, and the college for comparable positions. So with the new job description and with comparables of what they're actually doing and not what the job description states that they're doing, we came up with 2 new job descriptions in front of you today to be approved, and they would be effective immediately. And then we would also, the open position that's been open for about 2 months would be advertised internally and externally, so that way we can hopefully get in some more applications. I think I shared with each of the commissioners for this open position, we tried to interview 3 people out of the 5 applicants I believe we got. One person would never return our call, the second person didn't show up to the interview, and the third person just didn't feel it was a good fit and wasn't qualified. So with that, it also led us to determine that the job descriptions for what people thought they were applying for isn't necessarily what the jobs that they would be doing. So with that, I guess I can take any questions on the changes.
Just to clarify, you have updated both job descriptions, the head and the second, buildings and grounds, is that correct?
Correct. They essentially do about the same job, and I think there were 17 out of 20 bullet points on the old job descriptions that were exactly the same. However, primarily most of them had to deal with, I know I joke around about it, but cleaning ashtrays, even though we don't have them, but emptying trash, vacuuming carpet, cleaning glass. Like I say, that's only about what they do for the first couple hours in the day. And so we did update it. There are some differences. The lead position actually has supervisor authority over the other, but also helps prepare in strategic capital planning and the annual budget, as well as kind of is the primary person for scheduling and taking care of the scheduling and maintenance.
Okay.
But they don't, the annual services of equipment that's needed.
Okay.
Michael, anything?
Well, I like the idea of having this kind of a step up in the job description and filling it in on, head of facilities. We have how many millions of dollars worth of facilities?
I should have added them up because I estimated it when I visited with you last night. I would estimate over $50 million between all of our different facilities.
So having a supervisor on looking after those assets, I think this is a smart move. The 111 position, is that something we could over time fill with multiple? You have your head of facilities, and if he needs multiple people, or are we keeping an even lower position available that, for lack of better words, is the janitor position? So that way we could fill, so this kind of a mid-tier. But if we do need somebody that just, maybe a part-time person that takes out trash, empties out ashtrays or whatever, picks up trash around the grounds and stuff, that's janitorial type work. Do we have that position still available at the county level?
So we're not this request isn't adding 2 new jobs, 2 new employees. This is reclassifying the 2 jobs that they have, and they'll still be doing that custodial, janitorial duties within their job descriptions. There has been talk. We had the discussion as to, instead of doing this route, asking the commission for a 3rd position to be able to split the workload, and having maybe that 3rd position do just the custodial work, so the other 2 could do more systems maintenance. one example in this room they just got done with, I believe they're working in the entire basement, is switching out all the light ballasts and moving everything over to LED lights. They can focus more on projects on that rather than mopping and cleaning floors. We may have some opportunities in the future when some things change. Some of the buildings we are providing custodial services through a contractual agreement. We could look at that into the future to see what the cost difference is, and I know the commission is very well aware of all of the fair management. The fair manager we met last week, Tom Frost, does a lot of work out there. Our buildings and ground staff right now does not do any work out there, so that might be another opportunity in the future if he's willing, or once he actually retires, is to be able to combine those duties together and have that work together as a custodial staff, but also taking care of the fairgrounds as a full-time position. So we may have some future options to consider, but Greg, the lead tech, felt that getting a good qualified person to help him now is important, and then thinking about an additional position in the future may be something to consider. Part of this is also succession planning with Greg. He is getting to the point where he would like to retire. He would like to slow down, get the load taken off of him, and this gives us an opportunity to get somebody in that's trained and qualified to be able to take over his position into the future, hopefully. And then also at that point, maybe it's, instead of having a 111 grade position, is maybe having 2 lower level positions under that as well. So
Okay.
The
many thoughts there, I know.
like Michael, like you said, this ain't just the county, it's a worldwide trend. It's in every industry that we need somebody to supervise. And you also, Darren, Greg will make a good mentor, so we have somebody as we move forward with everything. And then, like you say, maybe we can go to at a later time, but yeah.
No. With that, I'll move to approve the facilities maintenance technician and head of facilities maintenance job descriptions effective today, June 13th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, county administrator report.
I have nothing for today.
Okay. All right, county commission reports.
I have no report.
Okay.
I'm going to make one comment on, we had all the outside agents, they all left, so they can't hear my comment, which might be all right. I appreciate all the organizations that came in. They all do some really, really important and tremendous work for our citizens of our county. My comment, though, the requests versus last year's budget and what the request came in, 115,000 more across all the agencies, which is about an 8% increase in requests. And I think we're just going to have a really some tough decisions ahead to see if we can meet all the requests. I could probably say it again. The room's clear. I don't know if we'll be able to meet all the requests that came through on the agencies. Doesn't mean or deplete the work that they do, but we're going to have some hard budgeting questions to answer in the next couple months. But I do appreciate that they all came in and gave us a presentation and an update on the work that they do.
Okay, thank you. I guess I was gone for a while, but I did get a chance to go to the Ellis City meeting, the Shinshin, City of Hayes, and I guess I got to brag on the City of Hayes a little bit for going around and keeping up our other, outlying areas like Ellis and Victoria, and letting everybody know what the water situation is. So I got to commend them on that. We're all getting to be a big community, so I like it. So that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioners, at this time, I move the Board of County Commission recess to executive session for 30 minutes under the following exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to the confidential data exception, subject to be discussed during the executive session is contract negotiations. The session will resume at 11:15. Those in attendance, in addition to the county commissioners, is Darren Myers. Second.
I'll second that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Huh?
Yeah, do that.
Okay. No decisions were made. Ready for adjournment.
Adjournment at 11:16.